So hopefully this evening you'll be sharing some insights from your journey so far. I feel like this is your life. Can we get a red one next time? Reveal the secrets to all of us as to what has made your success, and spill the beans on the stupid thinking that's led to some of your most spectacular failures. Because quite frankly, if you guys haven't experienced failure yet, trust me, in order to be a great entrepreneur, you have to have at least a handful. Pain, sweat, tears, heartache, the whole lot of it. When did it all start?
Well, first of all, Helena, I think
have I picked you up too much?
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried that I might have a failure tonight. I've got lots of tissues. As you said, I've had a really nasty sort of lung infection for the last month, and also the last time I talked to this many people, I burst out into tears as well, because I'll get this out of the way. I founded the business with my brother, and he died a couple of years ago. So it's been a pretty rough journey, but you know, it's good to kind of get that out of the way, and hopefully that won't be the dramatic moment 20 minutes down the track. But
it's all right, I'll find something else to make you
cry. But yeah, luckily we got lots of tissues.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So when did it all start? Were you born and raised in Gisborne?
Yeah, I came. I was in the East Coast, and I can imagine some of the boys that I went to school with going. Did
you go to Boys High?
Gisborne Boys High.
Yeah,
they'd be going, yeah, Ballantyne, you think you're hot shit, but you're just cold fart. You know? That's what they'd be saying now. That, you know, it was very much a tall poppy sort of place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really great place to grow up in Gisborne. It was. I'm sure it's similar to everyone's, you know, who's been grown up in a small town, but we had a river behind us that we went inner tubing and eeling and all those sort of cool Kiwi things. We roamed around the neighbourhood, and you know, there was a lot of freedom. And I look at our kids now, they have probably a little bit more privilege, but they don't have that. So you know, there is.
You've got kids, eh?
Yeah, I've got my wife and I have two daughters, aged 10 and 7. Yeah.
Mine's just turned 13, and it only lasts. You've got another like a year and a half before they turn into absolute little arseholes. And Sifs are knocking at the door because you're nodding in agreement, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I went to. I was. I think just looking back at the sort of person I was a really competitive person from day one. I had two older brothers. I always wanted to kind of, you know, one up them, and I was a really great sportsman up until the age of when all the Merry boys started going through puberty at the age of 11, and you know, I started getting winded in rugby.
And was suddenly twice the size of you.
Yeah. So, and then I discovered surfing and kind of gave away all the team sports that I really enjoyed.
God, you really are a busy boy.
Yeah, it was. I was, yeah. But I think I look at my education at high school, and it was a bit of a waste of time, unfortunately. You know.
Did you go to varsity?
I didn't. No, I left Gisborne to go and do fashion design of all things.
You big girl.
Yeah.
How well did that go down with the Boys High kids?
Oh, I don't think I told too many people about it.
What
you know,
fashion?
It was like walking onto Project Runway. I mean, it was
1 minute you're in, the next you're out.
Yeah, and it was a cross between that and Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. I was a straight guy there, but yeah, I think I just wanted to get out of Gisborne, and it was a bit of a lazy option. I'd had this really amazing teacher in Form 2 who was like the Guy Keating out of Dead Poets Society, you know, the Captain Oh My Captain guy, and she was just this amazing teacher that used to dance around the room and just inspire you with her alliteration and onomatopoeia and all that sort of stuff, and I was enormously engaged with her in Form 2, and then high school, it was like I was switched off. All the other teachers were just really boring, and I did well. I got all A's at school. See, I was pretty bright. I got sort of 90s in Form 3, 95s, and then I was down to sort of 80s. And by sixth form, I was doing pretty poorly. I was sort of slipping back to the middle of the class because I just wasn't engaged in what was going on.
So
I just wanted to leave school.
I mean, with the privilege of being an adult now, looking back, that what was engaging you were the visual things, the practical things, rather than the sitting down learning lists of stuff.
I think it's just passionate people as well, people who are just really committed to what they're doing, and and I believe, like I look at my own learning and sometimes I beat myself up about how, I just can't get this concept or this type of learning. But when you think of things that you're really engaged with, you just learn it like this.
How, in your journey, have you actually applied yourself to figuring out things that don't necessarily flick your switch?
Yeah, well, you get to a scale where you can hire people.
Yay!
If
in doubt,
get rid of that monkey off your back. That's the main thing. But yeah, you have to be a bit of a generalist, obviously, when you start up and know enough to get through, which I'm sure a lot of people are going through.
So you came up to Auckland to do fashion.
Yeah.
How the hell did you go from fashion into owning your own advertising agency in Tauranga? Is anybody else finding that there's a bit of a gap going on here?
Well, I think all of us have probably been through sort of different careers, but the bubble burst pretty quickly in fashion for me. I mean, really, it has this air of glamour. It seems like a really amazing industry, but the reality is factory conditions and there's not a lot of pay. It's not a very highly sort of paid industry, and at the time the government had stopped protecting, so this was the late 80s, the government had stopped protecting the local businesses, so any imports coming through now didn't have any tariffs on them. So all of a sudden the fashion industry absolutely collapsed in New Zealand, and a few people sort of went to the high end, but as an example, there were 17 CMT factories in Tauranga, which CMT was cut, make and trim. They're sort of like outsourcing garment manufacturers, and it went to one within 6 months when the government started, when they removed the trade barriers. Wow. And look, ultimately it's the best thing because we learn to grow up and be competitive. But I remember looking at the time, and my brother Steve was just heading into, he'd been a graphic designer and he was setting up an advertising agency. And I remember looking at, I knew of a couple of top designers in the fashion business, and they were on 40 grand or something like that. And I remember looking at the top creative director in the ad game, and he was on 600 grand at the time. This is like 1989 or something like that. So, I thought, this is probably quite a good industry to get into. And I liked surfing. It was in Tauranga. My brother Steve was in Tauranga, so we went. So he said, come down and we'll give it a go. And I'd actually got second in School C Art in New Zealand. So I always had a really good sort of
You're a bit of a girly swap.
sense of graphic design and that sort of thing. Yeah. So he said, well, you can turn your art skills into becoming an art director / graphic designer. And he taught me that.
Purely because of the lifestyle, not because there was a slightly slacker market there with less competition.
No, it wasn't planned. It was just a lifestyle. It was where my brother was. I wasn't happy in my job, which incidentally was production managing a team of people making O'Neill wetsuits. So and raincoats. So it was very, very factory. There was a smell of solvents in the air.
Wow.
It was clock in kind of environment. It was like, hey, well, this isn't really fashion, is it?
Yeah.
But that was really the reality of the fashion business.
So how long did Tauranga last for?
Tauranga was a really cool journey. It was one of those journeys of sort of blind self-belief, and my brother Steve had the really fortunate thing that happened to him. He went bald at about the age of 23. So he was 6 years older than me, and when he was 27 and I was 21, he was smoozing with sort of mid-30s guys, and they all thought he was about his age. So he sort of punched above his weight in the terms of winning accounts, and I ran the creative side. But that went on from 91 till 96. And what really happened there is that we assembled a group of just a really powerful group of young guys that have gone on to do amazing things. But they were all kind of surfers, and like we used to play hacky sack in the alley at the side, and we would go surfing before work and after work, and it was just a group of kind of lifestyle guys that all bought into the vision that we could kind of take it to the Auckland agencies. And
this is a story that I hear quite often with entrepreneurs and business owners of our age, in our late 30s, late 30s, almost 40s.
I'll take
that back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the energy, the self-belief was something very, very different.
Yes.
If you were to have stayed in, I don't know, fashion, or gone on to take in an ordinary ad agency job, be it a suit or creative, and then decided to branch out on your own in your 30s, would it have been different? Would you have perhaps had, I mean, it's a bit tough.
No, I think in that environment it's a bit tougher. The agency environment is very much a young person's environment.
Yeah.
And a little bit like music, you know. I mean, if you haven't cracked it in your 20s when you've got all that raw angst and you're happy to bed down in a really crappy environment and go and tour on a bus and that sort of thing, you know, you're unlikely to crack it after that. So in that case, I think we just caught a whole lot of guys at the same time. We became really good mates. We made work a lot of fun. And they had a lot of self-belief in what we were doing, which was, you know, we could be the biggest advertising agency outside of Auckland.
Who were your big clients?
Well, they were primarily regional, and look, this was a lesson that I learnt that you know, glamorous isn't necessarily where the money's at, you know, and we had clients. Yeah, we had Expose Swimwear, and we had, I think, NZ Fresh Milk was a sort of local dairy company. We had a lot of fertiliser and farm accounts, and you know, those guys were just, yeah, they were rolling in money, and they had, you know, they had a lot to spend, and we used to laugh at, you know, like the Auckland and City agent and Wellington agencies would scrap over a 500 grand account that was glamorous, you know, and we'd get $1 million account walk through the door that no one had ever heard of, you know, that was producing some kind of products for dairy cows, or, you know, that sort of thing, or like air conditioning.
Who are you advertising to when it comes to pig shit? Seriously.
Yeah, well, there's a massive industry, but you know, I've actually learnt that, you know, with a lot of things, that the so-called kind of glamorous industries aren't really where the money's at.
And as it turns out, life did get slightly more glamorous for you after Tauranga. And you had about 25 staff working for you. Here's a question that I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
At such a young age, with that number of people working for you, did you find it hard to assert authority or to be taken seriously because you were potentially a bit younger than some of the people that you were employing?
No, I had a beard back then.
So you and you had a beard.
Yeah. No,
I see a lot of mo's in this room.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you've got a sense of, hey, buddy, take note of me. I'm a man of substance and seriousness. Could also be starring in a gay porn movie. One of the two. God, I wish I could promo.
Yeah. No, it was a nasty goatee and long hair. But look, you know, my brother Steve at the time, he was 6 years older, and he was really the senior business partner. He owned 2/3 of the business, and I owned 1/3. But you know, I think there was a huge kind of feeling of, like, I've never been a sort of, you know, I'm the boss type of ruler. I've always believed in mucking in and sweeping the shop floor, and that's how you keep sharp, and also servant leadership, really, you know, you
can't expect anybody to do something that you wouldn't do yourself.
You help other people get to where they want to go and where you want to go with the business. So yeah.
And then you buggered off to London. All of the success here in New Zealand, and you went,
Yeah, I sold my shares to my brother, and he still thinks he paid too much for them. But it was. I just felt like, you know, a little bit homegrown. I just never worked in a real agency, and I sort of felt like I really wanted to go and prove myself, and so I went and had 6 months down in Queenstown snowboarding. And that was before I went, and then my now wife Jen and I decided to go off to London, and that was really humbling, actually, getting over there and realising the economy wasn't that good. That was kind of 97ish, I think, and you know, I remember going and seeing a headhunter, and it was for a company called Kendall Tarrant, actually, and they knew that I was a creative director of a New Zealand agency, and you know, I went and showed my portfolio. I remember sitting down with this woman, and I showed my portfolio, and she goes, you'll be wanting to see so-and-so who handles the kind of junior and intermediate creatives.
Oh,
and it was like a, you know, because we'd been doing, you know, we'd built a really good business, but, you know, we weren't doing the most amazing creative work. You know, it was very sort of, it would have won Effies but not Access Awards kind of thing. Yeah. So, you know, that was just really humbling, and we just had to. When I say we, I teamed up with one of the guys that had worked for me. He was over there at the same time, so we teamed up. They wanted to hire teams, so he was the art director. I was specialising in writing at that point. So we just went out to a whole lot of agencies, and it was really, you know, 3 months of, you wouldn't even get into see the creative director quite often. They'd go, okay, send your book up, and the book would go up the stairs, and then they'd come back and say no, you know, and it was like that going around agencies where and you'd sit down with a few creative directors, and they'd go flick, 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 where are your good ones, you know, kind of thing. So there was a bit of that, but eventually we found a really good job with just a small boutique agency, and the couple of guys that ran the agency were both Eton graduates, and they just had a really kind of, you know, intellectual way of approaching it, as they do in England. They were just really clever guys.
So working overseas, very different to being here in New Zealand?
I don't know if it is now, but the level I was operating in New Zealand was not the top level, you know. So I think it was just a really big learning curve, and luckily they were sort of they were the bridge for us to re-enter the game, and we became, we worked there for a year and then worked ourselves into sort of good freelance rates and good agencies, and ultimately ended up at a really good agency.
And straight into tequila and Wyman.
Yeah, and TVWA. Yeah. So, you know, again, we arrived at a really awful time in the market, and we ended up getting a job for a through-the-line agency called Tequila, freelancing there, and then we got into Wyman TVWA through there, and worked on some really great brands, so Apple and Adidas and those sort of things, and they were really good times. And I was still with my creative partner, Guy Roberts. He's now creative director at Saatchi, and you know, he was actually after we went our separate ways, and I started Online Republic, he became the #1 ranked creative in Australasia. So
guts.
After I left. He's a very, very talented guy. Yeah.
So after this extended period of flitting around all over the world, working for other people, what got it in your gut to start afresh, start something completely different, start anew, and this time with your brother Paul?
Yes, that's right.
2002?
2004, yeah. Look, my brother Paul and I had been talking a long time about doing something, and at the same time my wife Jen didn't want to go back to work. She'd been a suit at Colenso, which is a major ad agency in Auckland. She had our first baby, and so we were sort of looking around at ideas, and look, I never really felt that home in the ad industry as well. I always felt like a bit of a square peg in that industry, because I guess I'm sort of like a reasonably sort of shy person that likes my own company a little bit more, and it's full of those really full-on type A personalities that just want to sit around a table and tell jokes and all that kind of stuff, and I just want to get down to business and do the work. So I'd been looking for a while, and we were going to launch, we had this idea around smoke alarms that we were going to do, where we wanted to get, smoke alarms into every house in the country and all that, and we'd sort of mapped it all out and thought it was a really great idea, and it was, it had the sort of social benefits as well, and we were just sort of cranking into that, and one day my brother Paul rang up and said he'd had a business where he was reselling Yellow Pages advertising. So he used to, he and actually my other brother, it's all sort of a little bit brotherish, but what they would do is they would take the 20% commission that Yellow Pages would pay them, and they'd refund half of it to, like, if anyone spent I don't know, $6,000 on a page or a couple of pages for Yellow Pages. I don't know what they cost. Sometimes they cost 30 grand or something.
So they were undercutting.
They'd get a 20% margin. They would refund 10%. They'd refund half of it as a trip to the Gold Coast or something like that, and then pocket the rest of it. And they actually built up a really good business, turning over about $7 million on that. And then Yellow Pages actually turned around one day and said, you know, that 20% we're paying you, it's now 8%.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was like, oh, stop that. But anyway, Paul had a really good look into, this is my brother that I ultimately went into business with. He'd had a really good look into the, you know, pretty much every category actually. And at the same time, I'd been working on some web stuff in the industry.
Were you looking at the internet as, you know, the golden apple that was dangling there right for the picking, or? No,
I think it was just like, which idea should we back? And he said, look, I've just been, you know, we've been looking into a few, you know, travel companies, and you know, there's just a massive migration not only onto online from Yellow Pages. I mean, you can see it every year, the book goes like this, right? But the effectiveness of it, you know, the return that some of these companies are getting from online are massive. So you know,
this is something that they were learning through their trying to on-sell the Yellow Pages, and just having these conversations with people actually in the market that you invariably ended up selling.
Yeah, well, he just said, well, you know, maybe we should consider doing something online in the travel category, and and he. Him and I had a conversation, and I said, right, that sounds perfect, and we settled on car rental, and I went off and I designed a site called Fetch on my website. It was pretty cheesy. It had a little dog in the corner that kind of goes and fetches you the best deal.
Have you done any web design before?
No, I've done a little bit through the ad days, yeah, but I designed something up on my Mac and pretty much probably just copied something that was out there, you know. had a bit of a look. He did some deals, but we actually had we did have a little bit of an angle on it because of the advertising background. We kind of decided that we'd go, well, let's take what seems to be a sort of commodity type, fairly boring product like car rental, and let's see if we can bring some, you know, sort of simple 101 marketing thinking.
Yeah.
So what we did is we set up a whole lot of deals, and then we set up a whole lot of websites, and we took our deals, and with our commission we recut it a few different ways. So were
these websites that were sort of models that could then be sort of custom fitted to you sold them to? Yeah,
that's right. The kind of, you know, what is it?
I don't know.
Putting different lipstick on a pig or whatever the saying is. Yeah, so we would have, for example, so you got all the deals right coming into the same place. Then you've got like a senior website with big type, big smiling person sitting on on the phone with 5% senior coupon with a dotted line around it, you know. And then you'd have a family site that had like free car seats, and it was all just us cutting our commission a different way. We had an early bookers site for, you know, rewarding people that booked early, and we had a car hire for Aussies coming here, and a car hire for Kiwis going over to Aussie, and then we had this, you know, Brits on tour site for a lot of Poms coming here at the time, and actually what it enabled you to do was engage with people directly. So I remember when England won the Ashes, you know, in cricket after losing for years and years and years, and we put up a message, you know, well done lads. This was on Brits Touring, New Zealand.co.nz or something like that. Well done lads, you took it to those Aussies kind of thing. And our conversion rate just doubled on the site. And it really taught me about, you know, sort of talking directly and engaging.
And sticking it up to the Aussies in any way possible. Fantastic.
Exactly. So, you know, it was just a really powerful but simple idea. And we had this landing page which was back in the days when Google weren't so tough on quality scores on landing pages, but it was essentially 8 different buttons on a page. So you'd arrive and you'd have a message, looking for car hire in New Zealand, try one of these top New Zealand sites, and it would have like your senior icon and your family icon and your early bookers and your late bookers and your whatever. And we used to track people when they'd compare 3 of our sites and then book something. You know, and our conversion rate's never been the same since. It's been amazing, but unfortunately Google kind of gave it a quality score of 0 about 2 years later.
Holy crap.
Which means you have to end up paying a lot more for each ad that's clicked on.
So what have we learned from this experience? Don't mess with Google.
and just keep evolving. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had the rug pulled out from under our feet several times, you know, from various people. So you just have to keep evolving, don't you?
So you started off with cars, car rental. What was the natural progression from there? Take us from 2004 to...
Yeah, okay, so we started with New Zealand cars and we rolled it out. We thought, where do Kiwis go? Let's try the Gold Coast, put a site up over there. Did okay, took it to the rest of Australia, did okay, thought, car rental's a bit tough. And at the same time, someone, a couple of people had said, you know, you guys should get into motorhomes. Like, people are putting down like $10,000 bookings online. And they're not even, you know, calling up or asking for any, you know, any sort of reservations help. So we thought, yeah, that sounds quite good. So we did a few deals, and they were right. Motorhomes was a really, you know, amazing, lucrative niche for, I mean, it's still a good business, but back then there was a lot of English coming out here and coming to Australia, and, you know, I remember looking at, you know, the best one I saw was someone dropped 16,000 AUDs on a booking that we had 25% commission on, and we didn't hear from them ever. It was just like credit card down, and you know, and those were kind of like the heyday. You know, the industry, it's a bit tougher now, and margins are tighter, obviously, and you don't know, and that sort of thing. But we found even more so in the motorhome business that our kind of mix of web design and sort of marketing thinking was actually class leading or near the top, whereas the car rental was a little bit more evolved. But a lot of the big guys, you know, the big American, I don't know, the Pricelines and the Orbitses and the Expedias hadn't touched motorhome rental because it's too messy. It's a bit of a hands-on product, and you know, there wasn't a lot of live integration, which is just delivering all your information on the fly. And look, this was where my brother was really, you know, a really good, you know, he was by then a little bit more experienced in business with me, and for all intents and purposes, it was kind of my business mainly at the beginning, and he was working in another couple of businesses, and I was running it, I was doing all the reservations, I was, you know, doing a lot of the haggling and that sort of thing. But he would come in with these sort of really, you know, sage pieces of advice every now and then, and he said, right, we need to hire someone now here. And, you know, I'd go, well, you know, we're only just starting to pay me a salary, and he said, nah, we need to pay someone now. And we'd both sort of talked a little bit about advertising, and sort of realised back in the ad days that, you know, quite often when you get an ad agency involved in something, that you have different agendas that are going on. So, like if you're making a television ad, you've got 5 people sitting around a table, or probably more, and you've got the creatives going, right, this might be my award-winning TVC. You've got the director going, just this one, and I'll be, you know, in the film industry. This might be my ticket. You've got the client going, oh shit, this better work. You know, this is really a lot of money, and you've got the suit going, how can we get more money out of the, you know, out of the client? And you know, I mean, that's just the kind of reality. Yeah. Maybe that's slightly exaggerated, but you know, we always said that we wanted to build a team where we had all the people sitting around a table, and they're all pulling for the same result. They're all, you know, there's no external contractors, and we'd actually spent quite a bit of money on external.
You've done that before.
We have, yeah. So we'd paid a company to build our website, and we'd paid this search engine optimization company $9K, which is a lot of money for us back then. And they'd said to us at the beginning, don't worry, you know, we'll get you ranking in New Zealand car rental, which we know now is just, it's one of the hardest things in the world. But they said, no, we'll get you ranking. And I said to them a week later, after we'd had no bookings, this was like right at the beginning, I said, well, you know, what about Google AdWords? It seems like, you know, sort of quite a good avenue to explore. And they're like, no, I wouldn't even bother with it. It's a waste of time. So I just went out.
Who was this company?
No, I went to...
Say it.
So
save these people a lot of heartache and pain.
No, I don't even know if they're still around.
So good.
But anyway, we went out and I went out and bought this book, Google AdWords for Dummies, and
this is the third time I have had somebody talking to me in this environment and gone, those for Dummies books, they actually work.
Oh, they're good. Yeah, I mean, they get you in the game. I mean, you know, sooner or later we had to hire someone who really knew what they were doing. But yeah, I went out and bought that, and within about 7 minutes of turning on a campaign, it's like boom, you know. And then 20 minutes later, boom, boom, another booking, and we got a business.
Yeah.
And then it was from there. And then it's a case of, we knew that we wanted someone who had search engine optimization experience and search engine marketing, sort of paid search. This is Mark Vonage, yeah, who we hired, and you know, it took a huge amount of arm twisting, and I almost bullied him.
So where does he come from? Because I've heard stories about how incredible this guy was, and he was like, no, I don't want to come to you guys. You're nothing. And he's
not like that at all. No, he's an incredibly humble guy, and he was interested, but he had been offered a job with IBM, and he was working for another search marketing company called First Rate, and he was just ready to move on, but he was just really unsure, and it was just a big punt, so we had to, you know, just really almost twist his arm to come on. But he not only understood search engine optimization, he knew enough coding that he rebuilt our first website, and he had, you know, it had 600 pages indexed in Google instead of the I don't know, I think we had 7 from our original site that had been built from a very capable digital agency, but just didn't really understand SEO.
Yeah. So what was it about Mark that really made you think, I have to have him, we have to have him in order to make a difference to our business? Because I think that over the last 10 years or so of me lurking around and basically sticking my nose in other people's businesses, I've come to understand that it really is the people that make the business. It's a cliche thing, you hear it over and over again, but ultimately these are the people that are dealing with your livelihood, with your dreams, with your product, your baby. It's not easy to find the right person.
No.
So what is it about the team? And you've got a great team, I know, based upstairs here in this building, and then the extended team throughout the other countries. But starting with somebody like Mark, what is it about an individual that makes you think this is the person that I need on my team?
Oh, Mark's incredibly bright, and we also got him at the right stage of his journey. So, you know, I mean, there are a lot of talented people out there, and you can quite often get them too early or too late. Mark was at the point where his skill was maturing. He was really unhappy with how he'd been treated in a previous job. He was looking for something new, so and he had something to prove, and you know, that's actually a really powerful motivator for. It has been really for all of us. You know, my brother Paul had an enormous sense of having something to prove. He was a middle child, and for some reason he just always had this kind of thing that, you know, he had to prove something to someone that he could do it. And you know, I've been a little bit like that, and you know, even to some of my old ed colleagues that are, you know, I've got to prove that. You know, because you have those.
You also got to prove to the Gisborne High boys that you're not just a fashion boy anymore.
That's right.
No.
Yeah, but you know, you get people that, you know, even when you're starting to be successful, it's like, hey Mike, are you still doing that what was it, a car rental website or something like that? And you just go, yeah, you know, and you know, there is always something to prove. But I think getting Mark at that point, and subsequently getting really talented people also at the stage of their journey where they were really open to joining us, and then when they were coming to us, they felt like they were actually graduating in their career into something that could be really exciting. Whereas if you have hired someone who's achieved some level of success, or they're on a massive salary, or whatever, you know, there's a whole lot of other baggage that comes with it. So I think it was really just a bit of luck finding people at the right stage. And
is there a lot of networking going on? Did you keep your ear to the ground? Did you spend evenings pressing the palms?
No, I was a hopeless networker. No, I've never really been interested. We've always seen ourselves as being, you know, like if we launch something, we launch into Australia and then the US. So we've never really focused on New Zealand in a big way. So. I mean, I network a little bit more now, and it's been brilliant, you know, but back then, no, there was none of that.
On that turning point where, as you said, you know, you're barely just being able to pay yourself a salary, and good God, can you actually afford to take on somebody else? What was funding the business? Did you have external investors?
No.
Or was this all personal debt that you were ploughing into the business?
That's right, yeah. No, Jen and I had this rule, or this kind of... We'd set a limit where we said if our mortgage got over 400 grand, we'd sell our house, and we got up to 393,000. We got the real estate agent in and had a chat to them, and you know, it was like, oh, we don't want to do this. And then Funnily enough, my brother Paul said, when it turns, it goes like this, and you're all on. And that's actually what happened in our business. We just for some reason, we hit a tipping point. We had a couple of new ideas that revolutionised things, it was just all on, and we've never looked back from there. So
you talked about evolving before. Where did you look to for either the inspiration or the kick up the arse that is sometimes needed to actually step outside of your box or to actually believe in a new product in your industry?
Yeah, I think there's inspiration everywhere. I mean, in what we're doing, we're not reinventing anything, right? So, there's a lot of people doing things, but what happens is you walk down a path and other opportunities open up. Like for example, the guy that signed us up to Tourism Holdings for motorhomes, he was a really great guy, Ryan Poser. He left the business, he left Tourism Holdings and went and worked for a cruise company. He was the district manager for P&O and Princess here. So we were just sort of mates, we kept talking, we always said, let's do something together. And then 2 years later, we set up a cruise business and became a really strong contender in Australia within a year because, he just had that cruise knowledge. He married it with our marketing and our tech expertise, and the timing was right again.
And is that something that's important as well, to align yourself with an expert in the field rather than trying to sort of fumble your way? In the early days, it's fun and exciting,
that's right.
But a little bit later on when you're like, I'll give this bit a go.
Yeah. Well, that is where we've fallen over.
Chartering boats.
Yeah.
How did that work out for you?
No, that didn't work out at all. So we've had a few failures where we've just done really stupid things. Like for example, we went into coach tours and we went into boat chartering. They're still in travel verticals. They looked like they had really good traffic, but we thought we'd just do it with internal resource. And we spent 2 years learning lessons in those businesses, and we actually learnt enough lessons to know that they weren't viable online with the sort of model that we run. Whereas if we had have actually found someone that had been in those categories, we could have saved ourselves 2 years of, each of those businesses cost us about 400 grand.
Were you keeping hold of that IP yourselves because you thought you could do it, or
you just get a little bit cocky, I think. I mean, another really silly error that we made is we went into cruises is our only business that's jurisdictional, so you have to be a travel agent in every country that you're in. So we went into the UK. We had really sort of rotten timing economically over there, but we thought, right, we're a big player in New Zealand and Australia. We've got these formulas. We'll template it out. We decided to send our general manager over. We sent staff member over. We hired an apartment. We hired an office. We spent 8 months integrating with Amadeus, which is kind of like a content delivery system. And that took 8 months of our one of our top programmers, which is just like gold, for any IT company to assign that much programming power. And then we went live, and from about 1 minute in, you're not going to start a business and not pull your massive hours. It's an obsession. It's tough on your marriage. It's all those things. And if you think that you're going to do a startup and be an armchair manager or a boardroom manager, you're an idiot. You've got to put the hours in.
You've been with your wife for how long?
14, 15 years.
2 children. How's your work lifestyle balance now?
Yeah, it's good.
What was it like back then?
I think it was strained at times, but no, we've always had a really, really great relationship. And she sort of was quite involved in the business in the early days. She was really good at writing, so she'd write copy and contribute a lot. But we also had a young family. But no, that's that is enormously important to me. I mean, I've had moments in my life, you know, she almost died when we had the birth of our second child. She had some pretty nasty complications, and I was faced with a really tough situation in the critical care unit, where they were saying, get the family in, you know, get family around you, I don't know what's going to happen. And, you know, and at that time it was like, well, I don't really care about my business, you know, it's more about sort of, you got to put things into perspective.
Yeah.
So I think I've always been pretty good at that.
Yeah,
I don't have any regrets from that point of view. But having said that, you know, I mean, the great thing about an internet business is you can actually work from home, so you're kind of around quite a bit, so it's not like you're always in the office and always travelling overseas and that sort of thing, so it does suit itself to that.
Does it blow your mind that we're less than 10 years down the line, you've got 3,000 employees?
No, I haven't got 3,000 employees.
How many?
100.
100? Who wrote down 3,000 on my piece of paper?
I
can't be expected to do everything, Michaela.
I wouldn't want to.
Does it blow your mind to think that you've got 100 employees in 10 years? This, my friends, is how you recover, okay? Poison Grace. Holy fuck.
I mean, we've been successful. We've been really, you know, blessed financially as well. You know, and some days I wake up and go, "This is my life." You know, well, this is an amazing thing. But we've also had a lot of really difficult times. You know, I lost my brother and my mum and my dad within 18 months of each other. You know, I look at a family photo and there's me and my oldest brother now, and you know, we went through some hard times around the birth of our children. So, you know, that's just incredibly leveling, you know, so you just don't get caught up in your success. And that's actually one of our values is, you know, don't sort of believe the hype of your own success, because that's the kiss of death on your business as well.
Yeah. We've definitely seen a few people come through Generator, not mention any names, who, you know, clock the deal that they think is of their life.
Yeah.
And before you know it, that money's gone and something kicks them in the pants. And how do they pick themselves up after that? They don't, because they've honestly put themselves on that pedestal.
Oh, look, we're fighting for our life every day, and, you know, it's a real mongrelly kind of, you know, dog-eat-dog sort of industry, all these travel categories. We're up against armies of experts with some of these big American and European, you know, travel companies, and they you know, they don't like us, we don't like them.
What keeps you going after the family tragedies that you have had, after basically positioning yourself in a world, as you've said, of real big hitters? What keeps you getting out of bed every day when it has been pretty tough?
It's fun, it's exciting, it's exhilarating.
You know, I think you're all really sick in their heads.
Yeah, no, it is. It's still really enjoyable, and you know, you have some time off and you're just itching to get back into it. It's fascinating. I mean, again, it's not a glamorous industry. The car rental, motorhome rental, yeah, maybe cruises a little bit more, but there is, you know, there's politics and politicking, and you know, you're just, you know, lobbying all sorts of people, and it's just absolutely fascinating. And then you have people in your business that are absolutely obsessed with an aspect of that, be it supply deals or pay-per-click campaigns or data acquisition, you know, or email database, who are just like, you know, people just going, wow, we just, you know, we've increased our uptake from X% to that much, and it's just such an amazing feeling.
I know that one of the slight differences in e-commerce compared to any other startup business is the fact that you can access numbers real fast, really crunch that information down, and make pretty split-second decisions.
I love that about e-commerce. I mean, it's one thing I really didn't like about the ad industry. There was a lot of, well, you know, brand awareness is up and whatever. This is really like, you spend $1, you make $1.20, you make $5, or you make 80 cents and lose 20 cents. You know, I mean, it's very measurable. Everything is entirely measurable, and to this day, I love that about it. You know, there's none of that, you know, 50% of my advertising is wasted, but which 50%, which half? You know, there is none of that in what we do. It's all
And is there any trick to following those numbers, or things that you need to keep an eye out for in particular? I ask these questions because I genuinely don't know.
Yeah.
I still use the internet to watch cat videos and to find out how bad Miley Cyrus was yesterday.
Yeah.
But for these guys here, what are the kind of the back end analysis that they should really be keeping an eye on?
I think it all comes down to people, because you can think that you are very competent in a certain area, and then meet someone else who's a lot more competent than you, that opens your eyes. And I've had that recently, with someone that's come on board that just understands data a lot more than I do. So I think you just, like for me, it's really about when good people come along, get them, and
how do you keep them?
What we've done traditionally, and I'd actually recommend this to anyone, we've always given people a cut in the business. If someone is really, truly world class, and you see yourself you see that person as, gee, I hope they don't get hit by a bus type of person, you lock them in, and that's what we did. So my brother Paul and I, we started off with 50% each, and we gave away 5s and 10s,
Wow. How much are you left with at the moment?
My wife and I have about 45% of the company, and then we've got 6 or 7 other people that have got, sort of up to 10s in the shareholding, and these people are just really highly competent and sought after people. LinkedIn means anyone can poach anyone these days, but they're not going anywhere because they love what they're doing and they're business owners. So that is to me has been a fundamental part of our success. It's those people. For me and my brother, we had our own motivations why we wanted to succeed, and he was a bit of a maverick, kind of wild entrepreneurial sort of guy. I can figure stuff out and make it work, and we were just an absolutely magic combination together. And then as we've gone on, we've added people that are just, even better than us along the way. So I think that's those are some of the, that's a secret. It all sort of comes around people, and then just having an eye to the future as well all the time. I'm always obsessed with what's 5 years going to look like in some of these categories.
How do you do that? Because that's probably the thing that everybody in this room wants to know. How do you project your what you hope for to happen to your company within the next 5 years?
Well, you just have to look at trends, what are happening, and like for us, we'd look at what's happening in flights and hotels. We've got a really good relationship with Google. We spend $12 million a year with them, so it's a.
Dude, we could be best friends if you spent $12 million.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're really sort of abreast of trends, but it is difficult to predict the future. And you look at a company like Google and you go, well, if they hadn't have picked the shift to mobile and owned the ecosystem of Android, their share price would be struggling at the moment, because mobile is really where everything's at. They developed the mobile first, is what they say. So when they think about a problem now, they think about it on mobile. So it is quite hard to predict the wind shifts, but we're not sort of right at the sharp end like they are. So you can keep your ear to the ground and see what's going on in other categories and get a fair idea where it's heading.
Well, you've headed in slightly, I wouldn't say a different direction. You're still doing stuff online. Search Public. Was it January this year, February this year?
Yeah.
What's all that about?
Yeah, well, that's a search marketing agency, and my motivation behind that is I want to build a really powerful e-commerce unit, because we are up against, as I said before, armies of these, marketers, and you're talking about, SEO experts, analysts, search marketing experts, digital designers, all the sort of people that make up a successful business, and the sorts of people aren't cheap either. You can pay a lot of money for really talented people. So my vision behind that really is to just grow our capability in the whole sort of e-commerce, m-commerce, digital sphere, and get other companies to share into it. And it's actually been a really successful strategy. We've managed to hire some really great people, give them local ownership in the search business, and and bring on clients. You know, we've got a major bank, and we've got some really a major finance company, and we've got some really amazing sort of Kiwi success stories as well, and they like the transparency that we offer.
And where are you going to end up? Is there an exit strategy where you're just like, no, I've finished playing with these toys, I'm going to go and jump on my super yacht and meet up with Kim.com down the Mediterranean?
No. You're a fool if you don't have an exit strategy in mind. You know, you always have to start with the beginning in mind, and we do have an exit strategy, but there is a lot more gas left in the tank. Like, you know, in the car rental business, I think we're going to do 300,000 bookings this year. Where that puts us at about number 10 in the world. There's guys out there doing 3 million. So, you know, we are a small player in that industry, and it's exciting that there's a lot of potential in there. So we kind of feel like, yep, we can double, triple, quadruple this business. So that's really exciting. And as long as you believe that there's more gas in the tank and that you can keep going,